You're listening to the Telltale Channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Jacob, New Jersey. I'm wondering, in all of the cults and other religious organizations that you've studied, have you noticed a correlation between, like, financial class and how rich or poor someone is in correlation to how likely they are to join / be recruited by a cult? Because I'd imagine, like, homeless people are not their go-to demographic. And contrary-wise, I've noticed a lot of people in Scientology are pretty well-to-do. Thank you, and take care.
Very, very interesting question. Basically, is there a class difference between cult members, pretty much? And as you point out, it heavily depends on which cult you're talking about. For example, Scientology is made up of rich people predominantly because it costs so much money to be a part of it. I have talked to my friend Chris Shelton about it before. Like, what does it cost to be a part of Scientology? And there's something in Scientology called the bridge. The bridge is basically like the steps that you take to get to the very top of Scientology. The first major milestone that you reach in Scientology is called going clear. And from my understanding, it's been a while since I talked to Chris about this, but last time I talked to him about it, I think he told me going clear costs about $100,000. That is so much fucking money. That's probably more money, $100,000. That's probably more money than I've made in years combined. Like, in years combined. Multiple years combined. And they are taking this money and pouring it into this religion, this group, this psychology cult, to advance through the ranks. You have to make a decent bit of money to be able to progress through the ranks. But if you do have the money that you need to progress through the ranks in Scientology, you can do it as quickly as you want. You can do the whole bridge and all the way up to like OT1 or OT2 or 3, which is near the highest level you can get. Not the highest, but near it. You can do that in like a couple month time period. It's going to cost you about $500,000, but you can do it if you want to light the money on fire. But something that I found out about Scientology specifically is, even if you are fairly well off and have a decent amount of money in the bank, you're usually going to be living poor anyways, driving a shitty car anyways, because all of your extra money is going into the religion. It is the definition of a scam. It's really, really sad. So Scientology is probably the outlier when we're talking about class divide in cults. Most cults that I know of have always accepted homeless and poor people into their ranks. And the reason is because typically those people are emotionally vulnerable, the most emotionally vulnerable. When people don't feel like there is hope anywhere else, they turn to religion. So you'll find a lot of homeless people, a lot of drug addicts, a lot of people in prison, for example, will be super religious. I don't think that that's because religious people are disproportionately prone to commit crime. I don't think that's because they're prone to use drugs or anything like that. I think it's because, this is just my suspicion, this is my opinion, not a fact necessarily, but I would be willing to bet that the data would back it up. I think it's because when people feel like life is garbage and not worth living, starting from a neutral position, They will look for some kind of hope from somewhere, and when there is none to be had, they turn to religion. That's pretty much how it operates, I believe. So Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, they will bring in homeless people. They care about that. Jehovah's Witnesses have never passed around a collection plate. They've begged for money from people on their broadcasts and things like that, but they have an income. They're not trying to, generally speaking, historically, Jehovah's Witnesses have not tried to extract money from their members as much. Historically speaking, they've found schemes, basically, to generate money without getting it from their membership. Like having them construct kingdom halls and selling off the old ones, things like that, real estate schemes and stuff like that. And they have always used that as like a feather in their cap. Like, look, we don't beg members for money. So I think that's a really interesting point you brought up there. What is the class dividing cults? They actually do go after homeless people a lot. The bigger the member base, the more powerful the group, no matter what, generally speaking.